Hello everyone, welcome to Joe the Lawyer. Today we're going to take a look at an article titled, "Is it smart to release jail inmates to slow the spread of COVID-19?" And yup, if you look right under the title there, you'll see Joe Pometto Esquire. Yes, I wrote this article. I published it on medium.com. If you're not familiar with medium.com, it's sort of a crowd-based blog or website where just about anyone can publish articles, and if they're popular, they catch steam, you can get a whole lot of attention. So the link to the article will be in the description. Check it out. Check out Medium and my other articles. But for now, we're going to dig into this article because I had some interesting thoughts on this topic. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. When I get to 1,000, it will open up new options for me with YouTube. It also will allow me to monetize this channel. This channel will always remain free. But if you want to support this channel in a free way, go ahead and subscribe or share this video with someone you know who may enjoy it. Okay, so look, I right up here at the top, it says, "I believe it is both safe and smart to release inmates to slow the spread of COVID-19 as the societal benefits outweigh the costs." All right, let's scroll down. All across the country, prisons and jails are releasing inmates due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The concern is that jails and prisons, which include very close quarters living, serve as amplifiers of infectious diseases. There is evidence to back this up. An infectious disease could spread rapidly in jail and compound the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, that link there goes to an article written about AIDS and other infectious diseases that have spread in prisons in the past. So that's a real concern. Everyone in jail or prison lives in close quarters. It can spread very quickly. It's much more difficult to isolate people in prison than it is out in your normal life, as you can imagine. However, there is another concern to letting inmates out early. This concern is that letting inmates out early could endanger the public and compromise the integrity of the justice system. In this article, I argue that letting some inmates out early does not create a significant danger to the public, nor does it greatly compromise the integrity of the justice system. This is true because most of the inmates being released are nonviolent offenders. They likely would have been released anyways, and crime overall has plummeted during the pandemic. I don't know if you knew about that last part there. Crime rates have plummeted due to the pandemic. First, let me concede that letting inmates out early does create a moderate risk to the public. It would be silly to suggest otherwise. People who are accused of crimes or who have already committed crimes are the exact people most likely to commit crimes in the future. This is based on studies. However, the nature of the pandemic itself may put a damper on any criminal activity they have planned. Research has shown that crime rates have plummeted globally during the pandemic. Reports suggest, this is from the article if you click on it, that drug dealers, like legitimate businesses, have been less active and lost sales due to the economic slowdown. Thus, under normal circumstances, letting criminals out a little early may lead to an overall increase in crime. But this global pandemic is not normal, and the fact that it has devastated the economy has meant crime has dropped as well. Additionally, criminals may just be worried about catching the coronavirus. Thus, they are staying in like everyone else. And I don't know about you guys on your Facebook feed, but I'm seeing all kinds of articles. Miami, I believe, has been on its longest, and I don't know how long it is, but the city of Miami, its longest streak of days without murders since like 1957. I saw the crime rate in Chicago has plummeted as well. Maybe there's a good side to this pandemic. Now, there is definitely some risk to society when releasing inmates. Now, it's true that a man in Florida who was released under COVID-19 guidelines was accused of second-degree homicide the day after he was released. This individual was released on March 19th. On March 20th, a homicide occurred, and this man was later arrested and charged in connection to the shooting. This is a truly shocking, terrible story. But let's take a closer look. When this man was in jail prior to the shooting, he was not charged with homicide or any other violent crime for that matter. He was charged with possession of a small amount of drugs and drug paraphernalia. Thus, this man likely did not fit the profile of someone with a tendency to commit violent crimes. It appears he fit the profile of a small-time drug user. Thus, when jail authorities released this man, there was likely no existing evidence that showed he was at high risk of committing a crime like a homicide. Now, the majority of inmates released are nonviolent offenders. This brings me to my second point. The majority of individuals released from jails under COVID-19 guidelines were nonviolent offenders. I don't have the statistics to say that all the people released from jails across the country for COVID-19 were nonviolent offenders, but there's a good chance that the vast majority were. Therefore, jails and prisons across the country have, hopefully, been very careful about who they let out and who they keep in. Again, crime has dropped due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and early indicators show that the released inmates are committing crimes at high rates. Early indicators do not show that the released inmates are committing crimes at high rates upon release. Next, I am a criminal defense attorney in Pittsburgh, PA. I'm going to go into my experience a little bit here. I have many clients in the jail system right now, and I've been observing the actions of the lower courts. Now, this evidence is anecdotal, but I believe it is useful in gaining an understanding of what is happening. I have multiple clients charged with violent crimes, and none of them have been released due to COVID-19. And, when I wrote this article, I checked there was one person who was accused of recklessly endangering a person who has now been released, just FYI. The local judges, though, did not let most of these people out, and they would not have let them out under more normal societal circumstances. I also have clients who are lower level offenders. Many of these people were released, but based on my observations, most of these people would have eventually been released anyways. So, in my humble opinion, what the courts are actually doing is releasing inmates early instead of releasing people that would have otherwise stayed in jail. Therefore, in the case that some violent offenders are released, it's a pretty safe bet to say those individuals would have also been released during normal times. The COVID-19 crisis simply sped that process up. Most inmates being released are not yet found guilty. Finally, I believe it's important to note that the majority of people being released under COVID-19 guidelines are people who have been accused of crimes but not actually found guilty or convicted. These people are being held on what is called pre-trial detention. They have not had their day in court yet. This only strengthens the case to actually release these people. Statistically speaking, some of these people are actually innocent of the crimes they have been charged with. And that will show you, and that's just convictions. 6% of convictions are for innocent people, according to certain studies done. But people charged with crimes, the number is probably much larger than that. Of course, there are instances of inmates who have been convicted of crimes being released before they completed their full sentence. And I say here, shoot, the infamous Michael Cohen, who was an associate of President Trump, was released after being found guilty. But this goes back to the principle of early release that I stated above. Michael Cohen already served a portion of his sentence, about half when I looked at it, and authorities are simply releasing him early. Additionally, he's a nonviolent offender. So that keeps in track with the conditions of release. Nonviolent offender being released early. Overall, releasing certain inmates is an effective way to slow the spread of COVID-19 without substantial negative costs. Thus, all in all, the mass release of inmates due to COVID-19 is not a major risk to the public, nor does it compromise the justice system. Most of the inmates being released are nonviolent offenders accused of small-time offenses. Additionally, it is likely that a majority of these people would have been released anyways. COVID-19 just made the process quicker. Moreover, in the case of people actually convicted of crimes, they are getting early release, and from what I've seen, they've served at least half or most of their sentence. COVID-19 has caused nearly every institution in the country to adapt and take drastic actions. Jails and prisons are no different. While there are some risks to letting inmates out of jails and prisons early, it has also been shown that jail populations can be breeding grounds for infectious disease. Thus, society must weigh the costs and benefits to letting inmates out early. The benefit of slowing down the spread of the deadly virus likely outweighs any risks to letting some nonviolent offenders out of jail. And there are some violent offenders who are being let out. I'm not saying that's not happening at all, but the majority are nonviolent. Current statistics show that crime has plummeted due to the coronavirus pandemic. Therefore, letting inmates out of jails is likely a smart decision that can help save lives while the country navigates through this unprecedented public health crisis. And again, I would just take you back to what I mentioned at the beginning. Crime has plummeted. Miami has gone on a homicide-less streak, a streak of days without homicides, longer than they've seen since the 1950s. I've seen numbers out of Chicago where homicide has dropped too. So most likely these people being let out on early release, all right, they're not going out and committing crimes. Now, who's to say what will happen when the restrictions are lifted? But I'm telling you, the majority of these people, they probably would have been out of jail by the time the restrictions were lifted anyway. So it's a good idea to let them out now in order to help contain the spread of COVID-19, because jails and prisons, everybody could get it. There's stories of correctional officers and guards at the jails catching COVID-19. So I believe that this is a good policy to adopt. It's a good thing as long as the courts do it very judiciously. Now, that case in Florida is a very, very sad case. It's terrible, and it makes me angry. And, you know, I'm sympathetic to the family of the person who lost their life there. But that guy didn't show indicators of being a violent offender. So, again, I think overall this is a good policy during these unprecedented times. And, you know, maybe we can keep this violence-less streak going once these people get out or once we get past the COVID-19. So I hope you enjoyed this article. Check out the article. Check out medium.com. It's in the description below. Also, like, subscribe, comment, and share to my YouTube channel, Joe the Lawyer. Really looking to get subscriptions right now. I want to get to 1,000. Also, share this video. It's a free way to support this channel. This channel will always remain free, and I put a lot of time and work into making this happen. Also, leave me a comment on the sound. I'm still getting used to this new microphone that I have, trying to make it better. You can see here, my voice may sound a little different because I'm hearing myself in here, but this is how you get good at it. So I'm starting to learn, starting to practice. Give me a comment on the sound. Thank you very much.